Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com, debatephysics.com also, but nobody will debate the physics. I just play little shenanigans games. So this Michael Falwell, uh, posted some videos. I'd stopped watching anything he posted because it was just buffoon crap. 1 minute and 26-second video on physics. I don't think that's going to be physics. And then quotes from Star Wars. The argument from Star Wars. No, I'm not going to watch that. So anyway, he had done this video 2 weeks ago, and he's made a mistake that's it's like Ian Gosling already made this measurement error, the same exact measurement error, and he's done exactly what he did, and he's posted the video like, oh yeah, see, I proved. And he spends 23 minutes taking no data, just doing the experiment, expecting the audience to give a shit. I mean, it's an amazing pile of crap, and he just keeps repeating that somehow he's demonstrating that things are in the same amount of gravity because they're in the same time. Yeah, again, this argument that I can put things on a scale and have them sit forever. I mean, the time argument has to do with a specific event, that is, the amount of time something is falling in the gravity. The gravity force is hitting it and it is gaining energy. If it's hitting a surface, if I have friction on the surface, the time changes. The momentum in the object clearly changes. It's in gravity much, much longer. I'm holding it with my fingers, stopping it from falling. Okay, see, it's moving, okay? But yeah, I'm stopping it. It's not the same argument. I mean, come on. You're too stupid to figure this out, that this argument really is about the fact that once it's in contact with something else, the electricity goes somewhere else. So again, this is another guy who knows something about electricity. If I charge something up, it can charge, but it can't charge if I have a leak to ground. If I put a ground wire on it, it's not going to charge to 1,000 volts. It's not going to do anything. Oh, they're just so dishonest. And then, in terms of not dealing with any of my arguments, so let me do this first. Let me just point out the 2 time dependency arguments I've made that they haven't touched. And I think they have an obligation to first deal with my arguments. I mean, certainly I can debunk theirs, okay? But shouldn't they be obligated to debunk mine first, since I've made my arguments first? So again, I have a gravitational body, really just a point source of gravity, just like a sun. It's radiating a force in the sense that it's an opposite force, a pulling force, you could argue. And it's doing it by the inverse square law. I can have a path from point A to point B through this field of gravity. And all that's going to matter really is how fast I travel the point A to B. The faster I travel it, the less bent I'll get. The slower I travel it, the more I'll be bent. So it's just like thinking about rain or a paint sprayer. I have a paint sprayer and I'm going to move something through the paint spray. The faster I move it, the less paint that's going to get on it. The slower I move it, the more paint that's going to get on it. And the force is acting on the object based on how much time it has to act. And if I do something, touch it, in the case of gravity, the paint doesn't stick. All the paint goes off of it. Okay, it's that kind of, you have to use a little tiny bit of imagination to understand, yes, gravity isn't paint. And the fact is that all you can do is collect this force. You're collecting a force, you're not collecting paint. And the force, obviously, if you touch something, if you're moving and you touch something, the force will take that path, just like a piece of electricity. It'll take the path of the contact. So you can't contact things and expect to keep gaining the force. So even in atmosphere falling, you have terminal velocity because of the atmosphere. You end up pushing a whole bunch of atmosphere, and what you end up doing is hitting the ground sooner because the atmosphere hits it before you even get there. I mean, they've proven this one. I mean, as you're falling, the fact is the ground gets hit before you hit the ground. It gets hit by the pressure wave you've created, the atmosphere that you've collected, and that is creating your terminal velocity. All right, so pretty hard proof, okay? Move slow through the gravity, nothing to do with distance. The distance doesn't have anything to do with calculating how much gravity you get. You get the amount of gravity based on how much time you're free falling, you're freely collecting the force. It will decide how much energy you have when you hit the surface. And you can make the same argument even if you're going with the force. So if I give an object 500 miles an hour, I give an object 50 miles an hour, and they're doing exactly the same path in the gravity. The fact is, the thing going 500 miles an hour, moving exactly the same distance, okay, let's just say it takes it 1 second to do this path. It collects 1 second of gravity. It hits the Earth at 509.8 meters per second. This one going 50 meters per second, okay, let's say it takes, because it's 10 times as much, it takes 10 seconds. All right, 10 seconds at 9.8 meters per second. Let's just round it off to 100. Okay, so it's going 150 when it hits the Earth. All right, so it gained 100 from this path. This one only gained 10. Same exact distance in gravity. Obviously, they didn't collect the same force because it was really just about how long they were in the force. So, in my opinion, two decisive, conclusive arguments. Clearly, gravity is a time-dependent force. It really can't be argued by anybody with any kind of integrity or honesty. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now this moron does this stupid experiment where he's going to drop a pendulum from two distances. Okay, this one's supposed to be 4 times the height, okay, to get twice the velocity, which you're after, and it's 1/2 the mass. Okay, and then you're going to drop a 1 mass from 1 height. Okay, so do it this way: 1 mass, 1 height. Okay, and the argument is momentum basically says that yes, if you add all this up, it's the same thing. Kinetic energy says this has twice as much energy. Okay. All right, twice as much. Okay, 4 times the height. So what does this moron do? The same thing Gosling did. He measures the distance wrong. So his pendulum's base, the bottom of the pendulum is here. The base, where he's measured from, is here. And what does he do? He stacks up things. So he has 4 CD cartons. And clearly the 4 CD cartons is really 2 of them shouldn't be there technically. Okay, so he's only lifted it 2 CD cartons high. That's all it is. It's only 2 higher. And what does he do over here? That's right, he does the 4. So he does 4 times 4, ends up with 16 cartons, okay, where there's supposed to be 8. So he's lifted it twice the height that he was supposed to lift it. So it's way up here instead of here. All right, and then swings it down and says, look, it has a little bit more energy. It's not, it's a little bit more. He gets numbers of 40 and 60, right? So, this is 40 seconds, this running time. And let's understand, they're not really equal frictions. Obviously, more weight is going to be more friction. And again, this is the same as the ramp argument. Okay, the pendulum isn't any different than rolling something down a ramp, up a ramp, down a ramp, up a ramp. Okay, and this is all the Galilean stuff where, yeah, it's in the gravity more time, but it's doing more work. It's friction, friction, friction. Well, there's friction in the tension in the piece of steel that's going back and forth and holding the weight. There's friction in the pivot of the pendulum. There's friction in the board holding the pendulum. Those are all places where they may not be elastic. That is, you might not get the energy back. All right, so anyway, so of course it's making more energy. It's in the gravity, more time. Okay, it takes more time to do this rolling thing than it takes to do the falling thing. All right, that's the whole reason why Galileo did it, was to make it take longer. But it's not, it is collecting more force, but it's losing more energy to frictions. I mean, it's just so stupid. Well, anyway, so he does this experiment, gets these numbers that aren't even good, right? I mean, it should be 80. It should be twice as much energy. It wasn't twice as much. It was 1.5. So he doesn't even get his numbers, and his measurements way the hell off. I mean, just way off. So yeah, he didn't go 4 times too high, but I mean, he went twice as high, which is pretty much this difference. Okay, so then he says in the John Walker guy points out in the comments how you measured wrong. Stephen Burrow acknowledges that, well, John's probably right, you did measure wrong. They still haven't figured it out, even though Ian Gosling already made this stupid mistake. I mean, here they are just making it over and over again, so they can play their little game, and pretend they're doing science when they can't even figure out these simple errors. I mean, this is a simple error. All right, so then the stupid Michael Falwell lying scum 2 weeks ago said he's going to redo the experiment. Did he redo it? No. Because why didn't he redo it? Because he probably got numbers like 40 and 42. That's why he didn't redo it. Because when he did the right height, yeah, he's not going to get no 60 anymore. It's going to go way the fuck down, that number. Way down. All right. Demonstrating not even close to twice the energy. Even with all his flawed theory, even with his flawed statements, it's the same friction. More weight doesn't mean the same friction, by the way. But even with all that flawed crap, I mean, nowhere close to proving 2x the energy, even with his cheat. So even with the huge cheat, he couldn't get the right result. And then he says, yeah, I'll redo it, and he doesn't redo it. Why? Because when he redid it, it came out, that everything he said in the video, everything he said for 22 minutes was absolute shit. It was wrong, and the video's still up. So he doesn't care that everything he said in that video was a pile of shit based on false and fake premises. He doesn't care. Go ahead, keep deceiving people. Keep lying and pretending you've done real experiments and proved real things when you've done fake experiments proving that you're just lying, conniving, propagandizing bullshit artists. And you really don't give a fuck about the truth. You don't give a fuck about the science. You don't give a fuck about arguing the actual arguments made. You just keep pretending that you can do your little chicanery and you'll fool enough of the people. And that's all that you care about, is how many people can I fool, okay, who aren't going to really look at it, aren't going to really analyze it, don't really give a shit about physics. They just want to pretend the fables are true, that they're going to go into some wormhole someday and have, whatever, singularity sex. I mean, you people are just so full of shit. Alright, so I don't really need to say anything more. Obviously, he fucked the experiment up. Alright, and, again, and he's kept it up, even though it's got this grotesque flaw in it. I mean, it's just so obvious. Alright, still no comment on his other video about the fact that, there's not the same friction. When you have twice the mass with the same surface contact and you're using surface contact to take the energy away, I guess that you're not going to get very consistent or correct results. And certainly nothing on Disbar's fake and phony, stupid, video from ignorance, where it's got just as simple a flaw in his calculations, in his assumptions about the speed at contact. So that's another clue for you idiots. What do you think the velocities are at contact, the point of contact? Do you think they had the same velocities they had at the bottom of the pendulum? Do you think they retained the same they lost exactly the same energy with each inch of motion? Do you think so? But still no recognition that they can find the flaw or that they will acknowledge the flaw. 2 days now. So really, it just proves they're not about doing good science. They're about just being nasty, petty, weaselly, lying scum, attempting to say I'm wrong without really proving I'm wrong. Just sitting there playing little shenanigan games to make some kind of question, to try to in some way dent or impugn, but they don't have the real goods. They're never going to really prove it with any kind of real experiment. It's just disgusting. I live on a planet with such creatures. All right, so that's where we are. They just keep lying. I mean, we got 4 experiments now here, at least 3. We had Ian Gosling talking about inertia again. With his pulley experiment. I mean, we got nothing even close to getting to the subject of them showing the 5-ton train doing twice the work of the 10-ton train going half the speed. Nothing even close to them showing this. The 25 times the damage the thing going 5 times as fast does. Anyway, such scum. That's it. Yeah, I mean, this is just too stupid that you can't get these people to actually argue the argument. The actual argument. I mean, I really made it specific about the only way something can collect energy is it has to be free falling. If it's not free falling, it's not collecting energy, in the sense that whatever contact it has is taking a percentage. I mean, it can still fall, with you having a string with a weight on it. It can still fall, but it's not going to gain the same amount of energy, because obviously whatever you're pulling with the string is consuming the energy, is using it. Anyway, till the next time and such. Hate this planet.